Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Firstly, our lovely and well-respected, dignified Chancellor of IST, General Rehan Saab, his better half, our panelists, fellow speakers, members of the faculty, students, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good afternoon to you all. Back tak awaaz aa rahi hai? I can be much louder if I have to. Firstly, it's an honor being here. It's the second time I'm here. Unfortunately, we didn't have a chance to interact much during my first visit, and I'm really hoping I'll be coming more often on beyond just forums. I think jitni interaction hum kar sakte hain aapke sath karenge on an industrial setup. Today, I'd like to congratulate the entire TEDx team. It's a faculty and student drive which you've all collaborated on to make this event possible, and I hear it's the third, fourth time that you're doing it, so hats off to you. Also, Talia, congratulations, mashallah, you're a survivor, and the way you spoke really touched all of us, and you've showed that resilience is key. It's about having faith, belief in yourself, and it's very similar to what I'm going to be talking to you about today, because you are the future, and if this is the future of Pakistan, then I'm very optimistic and very positive that there's a very strong future coming ahead, which is exactly what I want to communicate with you all about today. Firstly, I need to ask you this question because we were talking about this just a few minutes ago. Brain drain. I need a raise of hands. How many of you are applying overseas, going abroad? And there's probably two reasons for it. So I need an honest answer. Honestly, how many of you? So can I say 10%? 20%? Okay. Now, I need two reasons. So is it because of the money or is it because of personal and professional growth? So I need first hands for money, financial incentive. And second, I need a raise of hands, be honest, professional and personal growth. So again, this is good. This is about 20% on average. There's a saying that we're all familiar with. We all say that the grass is greener on the other side. So this is probably the perspective you all have, that the grass is greener on the other side. There's more opportunities, better value for money. Maybe you'll earn more. But have you ever thought and asked yourself this, that why not make the grass greener on this side? We have equally as much capability, equally as much or maybe more resources. It's just about putting the talent and channelizing it for the greater good and common cause. Look, everything you're doing here today, IST is one of the most leading institutes in terms of what it's capable of and what's doing. I mean, in terms of indigenous programs it's working on, in terms of technology, because there's very few institutes of this caliber with this level of resources at the disposal. Aside from that, the experience that the faculty brings to you, someone who served all his life, for one cause, to protect and promote the interests of the Pakistan as well as the national security, and yet he still devoted the remaining part of his life for the remaining youth that he can, because you guys are the future. So that shows you the governance that we have, the leadership that we have, and this is a blessing for all of us. But going on to what Pakistan can do for you, because we always ask ourselves, instead of asking the other way around, we should always ask ourselves, what have we done for Pakistan? But I know everybody asks, what has the country done for us? So let me tell you what this country has to offer, so you can all revolve your minds around that concept that, there's a lot going on in Pakistan, and you can capitalize from it, utilize these opportunities. So you have to have faith. That's the first thing. Have faith, like Talia rightly said. Have faith in yourself and have faith in this country, because this is who we are. And it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter where you go. I'm telling you as someone who's traveled a lot around the world, it doesn't matter what passport you have. When you go to that immigration office or that immigration counter, they're going to look at your face and they'll say, I'm telling you, this has actually happened. They'll say to you, where are you really from? Where are you originally from? So at the end of the day, if you're going to be Pakistani and you have to tell them you're Pakistani, then why not be Pakistani? Why not be proud of who you are and where you've come from? So let's move on to the topic at hand. Economically, things are tough. But that's not just Pakistan. Have you guys read the news? Europe is pretty much going into a recession. This is not the first time. If any of you watched Crown recently on Netflix, if you look at the history, they've had these recessions, they've had these problems many years from now. I mean, many years ahead, back in the days. And this is a cycle. It's a vicious cycle that repeats pretty much after every 10, 15 years. But I don't know if many of you remember, you were pretty young, but in 2008, we had the last recession that we all know about, in which we had a huge bubble burst, markets collapsed globally, primarily because of collateral. There were a lot of financing in place, a lot of mortgages, and there was nothing backing it up. So people would get credit cards and would get loans on houses and cars, but they had no collateral in place. They didn't pledge anything. So when people defaulted, the companies defaulted with them. And obviously things have corrected since then. But during 2008, 2007, the crisis, nothing happened in Pakistan. Dubai fell, Europe fell, Middle East, the US, they all fell. The whole markets collapsed. Thousands of people, millions of people are unemployed, companies collapsed, but nothing happened in Pakistan, because I remember we were speaking to a lot of the financial analysts in Pakistan and the Middle East, and they were saying, what's happening in Pakistan? They were all panicking. I'm like, nothing's happening in Pakistan. They're like, how is that possible? I said, Pakistan has an insulated economy. We're not dependent. The only thing we're dependent on is the dollar. Because everything we import, everything we trade is in dollar. So does the rest of the world. But our financial institutions did not work like them. Our banking model is very different. We have a professional banker here, and banking in Pakistan is not retail-based banking. It's either corporate banking or it's government financing. 90% of financing done in Pakistan is through governments. That's why banks are so profitable, which is unfortunate. We need to change that now, but the cost is so high for the private sector. Even today, with the interest, it's about 20%, or with Khyber, it's ridiculous. Whereas worldwide, you're paying about, Canada, I was speaking to a friend yesterday, he's paying about 1.6%. UK, US is about 6%, which is ideal. But Pakistan is another level. So again, going back to the examples, nothing happened in Pakistan because we're an insulated market, and that shows that we're resilient. And we've moved forward. There's been plenty of other crises. In 2010, we had the floods. We've had the earthquake before that. We had COVID-19. And COVID's numbers are phenomenal. It's about policy. You know why we're not growing? You know why we haven't grown? Tell me, guys, why aren't we growing? It's policy. I keep saying this to people, that we're not dependent on policy, we're actually dependent on politics. We need to get out of this regime. We need more young people, we need people who are sincere with this country, more patriotic, people like yourselves, who actually see things differently, don't have hidden agendas, to come forward and start becoming a part of change. You can't bring change or demand change if you don't become a part of it. Sitting as an outsider, it's never gonna happen. Once you start lobbying for it and you become a part of it, I was, as the president of Chamber of Commerce, I did everything I could. I brought as many reforms as I could within the private sector, worked with the government, but that's because I had to do it and I wanted to do it. But stepping outside, I could cry all day long. I could talk about it all day long. You can shout for it all day long. It's not going to happen. You have to bring the change, and you have to be a part of change. Be a catalyst to change. So going back to the topic with regards to Pakistan's numbers, so policy. In 2019 and 20, when everything changed, and again, it gives me great pride that IST was one of the pioneers in online education, and they set up everything for you, made sure that it worked. From homes, you were able to learn, being able to educate. But what happened with industry? The world closed down, Pakistan remained open. So despite the high cost, despite the lack of marketing, everyone thought that there's a security risk and everything, but the industries had to divert somewhere. So we started exporting from Sialkot, from Faisalabad. Pharmaceuticals kicked in. We started supplying as many medicines as we could to all the countries that were willing to take it from us. And guess what? The GDP growth from 2019 all the way to 2020, 2021 was touching about 6%, which was a record figure for us because we were being recognized by the world as a country that can produce, as a country that can export. So they had faith. We had faith in ourselves. We went forward and we did achieve our targets. Tax collection went from, I think, 3,400, 4,000 billion to 6,000 billion. It was a record number, which we weren't able to achieve in the past. And this is a big issue with Pakistan, guys. When we complain about lack of infrastructure, lack of schools, lack of hospitals, that's because we don't have the funds in place. There's always a fiscal deficit, but that's because the government spends far more than they're earning. There's two reasons for that. One, there's more staffing, so all state-owned enterprise needs to be privatized. That has to happen. So in one area where we have 10,000 employees, we might need only 1,000 or 500. We need to refine them. We need to restructure. That's one reason. So we're spending far more because we don't have to, but we are doing it. The other issue is the tax collection. Only 3 to 4% people are paying tax in this country. How on earth is a government ever going to be able to break even or balance their books or balance their budget? Because we don't have that sort of fund. At least 20% contribution is required for Pakistan to be able to survive and get out of this IMF program. Just with our own economy, just with our own retailers, our traders, our businesses, we have a huge setup, guys. Guess, I need a number here. Let's see how where we are geographically. Guys, guess what is the area of Pakistan? Can somebody shout out to me? How big is Pakistan? Kitna raqba hai is mulk ka? So what, 8 lakh something, right? Say 8 lakh ke kareeb. Abadi ke lihaz se we're about 230 million people. It's huge. Compare that with Turkey. And I need the numbers here because facts are better than fiction, right? So Turkey is about 80 million people. Their GDP is about 700 to 800. Guess what Pakistan is? 260, 270? It's a joke. We're more than double their population size, and yet we're not exporting anywhere near as much as them, and our GDP is nothing compared to them. Bangladesh is more than us as well. And Bangladesh's population is only about 160 million. Their area is much, much, much less, around 160,000 maybe. So what's wrong with Pakistan? Why aren't we focusing on manufacturing and indigenous production? That is the future. That's what we were doing back in the old days during General Ayub Khan's time. We were heading towards that direction. We had plants like HIT, HM, and I would encourage all of you to go see these factories, the way they were designed. I mean, we were moving on a completely different scale, and then all of a sudden we deviated. So we have an abundant, human resource. So majority of them are below the age of 35. 50% of our Pakistan's population is below the age of 35, but we're not utilizing that human resource. That's where you all come in. Put that effort to use. We can produce and export far more. In agro alone, we can touch $100 billion. In terms of resilience, I want to give you one more example. There was a kid that I met once. He was, I think, about 25, 30. I was at Watson once at midnight. I think about 12 o'clock midnight. I went there to get something, went by myself. So he walks up to the door and knocks on the window. And he asked for money, but he wasn't just asking for money. He wasn't begging. He was selling undergarments. And I wasn't bothered. I was in a hurry. He went inside Watson, came back outside. And he was still there waiting for me. So I gave him something. He knocked on the window again. He said, "Nahi, take this." He gave me one of the undergarments. And I said, "Yeah, mujhe pata bhi nahi hai if it's my size or if it's going to fit me or not." He said, "No." He said, "Here's your money back. If you don't take this, I don't want your money for free." That's self-respect. That's dignity. It won my heart. I then and there asked him, like, "Do you want a job?" He was disabled. He said, "How much are you going to pay?" How much are you earning? How much do you want? He said, "Can you get me a garment job?" I said, "Where do you want to work in the garment?" He said, "Police." That pride, the sense of national pride. I said, "I can't get you a job in the police. You're disabled. But what about the private sector?" He said, "I'm earning in that condition, selling undergarments. He's earning 30,000 rupees per month, and this is about 2 years ago. 30,000 rupees a month. A kid who is disabled and walking on the streets, in different circumstances, the weather. Yet he's earning that much money." Imagine all of you that are privileged, that have all the resources at your disposal. We have the laser cutting now, 3D printing, everything that you need. Because Jalan Saab is, I'm telling you, you have no idea how blessed you are to have him. He feels your pain. He feels the pain of the institutes. He's working extremely hard with the policymakers, lobbying and trying to get the budget, the funding in place, everything that he can, that would create an adequate and ideal environment for you to be able to grow, to be able to add value in your lives. You know what you all are? If you look at it from our perspective, you're all diamonds in the rough. And people like General Saab are trying to carve you into shape and form so that you can shine in your lives, so you can grow in your lives. Not just in Pakistan, but wherever you go. We're not stopping you from going abroad. That is your own life, but we want you to go when you're ready. Once you've added value, not just in your own lives, but value in Pakistan, because you owe it to this country. We were born here, guys. This is a very firm belief I had. We were born here, we're going to die here. Our relationships, our forefathers, our heritage is in this country. If we get buried abroad, who's going to come and pray at our graves? It's a very bottom line. You think about it. Think about the end. And the legacy, it's all about legacy. Why are we here? Why am I here? We're still adding value. You're still working on a 5-star hotel, which I'm trying to inaugurate in the next 6 months. This is the problem I'm facing now with the import of the LCs. We've got some equipment coming in that's stuck, some kitchen equipment, laundry equipment. It's international properties. We can't just put in local, handmade items in there. It has to be specialized, a very specialized equipment with BMS systems, automation, guest room management systems. So the next 6 months, we're adding 370 rooms. And imagine how much that's going to add value in the capital for domestic and international travelers. We're still expanding the mall. We're adding another 400,000 square feet leasable area. Collectively, we're adding about 1.7 million square feet. That's that mall, and as well as we're doing a tower. So we still have faith. Last thing I want to touch before I overstep the time, my PSO had reminded me on this. Guys, everything that you do in life, and I'm extremely proud of this. I've been abroad most of my life. My education has been abroad. I'm also a certified pilot. I ski, I skate, ice skate, and I'm doing the same thing with my children. I'm teaching my children everything that I'm capable of. I want them to be another version of myself. I want them to be better than me. And that's what every parent wants, their children to be better than who they were, achieve more than they've achieved. For this, you've got to invest in yourself, self-investment. So your diet, your habits, your eating habits, sleeping habits, your routines, your activities, your friend circle, all of this defines who you are. It's everything around you. And the one thing that I'm seeing these days, which extremely disappoints me, is how people are destroying themselves. It comes to drugs, it comes to alcohol, it comes to all of these things that are external factors that affect all of us. And it's everywhere across Pakistan. And you as civic citizens, it is your moral and ethical responsibility to, one, say no to yourself and say no to others as well. It's not just about yourself. When we go down, and this is towards the end, they're not going to ask you just what you did in your life. You're going to be asked, what about the others? Neighbors have rights. पड़ोसियों के भी rights होते हैं. तो कल आपसे पूछा जाएगा कि आपने किसी और के लिए क्या किया था. One more point I want to touch on. This is important. I had my thesis during my MBA on the strategic importance of emotional intelligence. Make this a part of your life. Emotional intelligence is equally as important as business intelligence, and it will lead to more business intelligence if you're good at it. Main traits are being self-aware. Self-regulation. So one, aware of who you are, your emotions. Self-regulation, regulate your emotions. Exactly the example I gave you, that doesn't matter what was happening with Centaurus, I was calm as I could be, because being a CEO, no one should ever be able to know what I'm thinking or what I'm going to do next. And also be calm and composed. If you're panicking, all hell's gonna break loose, right? Exactly what some people go and say abroad, that guys, if we don't get the funding for the floods, all hell's gonna break loose. Hell's not gonna break loose. This country is resilient. We've bailed ourselves out during every disaster and every calamity. 33 million people have been affected by these floods, and they're all surviving. We're survivors. Dahlia is one of them, and there's many more. Self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy towards others. Family is first and foremost. Motivational skills and social skills. You know the guys that go up in Siachen, live in igloos? There's only about 6-7 of them. A guy who's living in igloo for about 6-7 months, imagine how much motivational skills he'll need to, one, be able to wake up and motivate his staff to get out there and do their daily chores. It's a perfect way of looking at it. And we've all seen in Alpha Bravo Charlie. I recommend every single one of you to go and watch Alpha Bravo Charlie. It's gonna really reinvent your faith in our armed forces and as well as our country, of what we're capable of. And recently there was another drama, I think, which was Sinfe Ahan. I think that was another drama. I highly recommend it, because I'm a very big patriot of Pakistan. I'm a man who was in civilian clothes, but true soldier at heart. And I'm very proud of Pakistan. Guys, have faith in this country. This country has much more than what you perceive. So I need to hear you say one thing. मेरे साथ अहद करें कि हम सब मिलके. Say it, guys. I need to hear this. I'll say it in English first. Together we can. Together we will. Make Pakistan better than it ever was. हम सब मिलके इस बेहतरीन मुल्क को और भी बेहतर बनाएंगे. पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद.